Willkommen im Olympiastadion Berlin.
Welcome to the Olympic Stadium, Berlin. I am Jana Klee, and in the name of the Visitor Centre, I would like to welcome you warmly to this multimedia tour. We will visit one of the oldest and historically most interesting sports grounds of Germany. But the stadium is not only a place of history, it's also a modern, multifunctional venue of superlative events. From football to athletic sports, as well as rock and pop concerts, its programme offers a great variety, and as a result it holds a distinguished position in the event calendar of Berlin. In 1909, the Grunewald racetrack for horse racing and steeplechase was opened on this spot, and in the middle of the racetrack a first stadium was inaugurated as early as 1913. It was called the German Stadium. It had a capacity of about 30,000, and it was the first large-scale stadium building in Germany. Both the racecourse and the stadium were designed by Otto March, whose Berlin architectural office played a pioneering role in the construction of sports venues. As it was highly important to have a clear view over the racetrack, it was obvious to construct the stadium in a lowered hollow. It offered room for a surprisingly large number of sports. A swimming pool with a 100-metre-long basin was placed in the middle of its north side. Right behind that was a 666-metre-long cycling track, which enclosed a 600-metre-long running track. This unusual all-in-one stadium was built as a venue for the Olympic Games of 1916, which then never took place due to the First World War. German athletes were not invited by the International Olympic Committee to attend the two Summer Olympics after the war. Instead, a competing event took place in 1922 for the first time in Berlin. These German fighting games had a heavily nationalistic character. It wasn't until the Olympic Games in Amsterdam in 1928 that reconciliation on the level of sports became possible. Directly afterwards, Germany applied for the Olympic Games of 1936, and Berlin won the bid to host the Games in 1931. So this actually took place during the time of the Weimar Republic. Alteration work was needed in the German stadium, as it had already become outdated and was now too small for the rapidly changing demands being made upon it. Its capacity was to be extended to 70,000 people. The architect responsible was Otto March's son, Werner March, who had taken over his father's office. But because of the world economic crisis, the plans for renovation were cut. Development started again only after the National Socialists had taken power in January 1933. Even though the National Socialist media had publicly fought against the Olympic Games during the Weimar Republic, a complete change of view took place after the appointment of Adolf Hitler as Reich Chancellor. Within the party, the Nazis still had a problem with the international character of the Games, but at the same time, they recognised the unique chance to present themselves in front of the world as a self-assured and sovereign great power. So during the days of competition, they were, at least partially, willing to omit one of the main characteristics of National Socialism, racism. This was not done voluntarily, for a boycott movement had formed on an international scale, and the IOC also exerted pressure so that the disqualification of Jewish sportsmen from the German teams was formally outruled. In October 1933, Hitler visited the sports grounds personally and demanded the stadium be rebuilt to reach a capacity of 130,000 visitors and a mass rally ground for a further 500,000 people. This was not possible in the available space, so the architect March had to change his plans. The horse racing course and the German stadium were demolished, and the Olympic Stadium was built in a construction period of only 2.5 years. It was integrated into a sports park of about 130 hectares, which contained additional facilities for training and competitions, and was called the Reich Sports Field. When it was officially opened, the Olympic Stadium could hold 100,000 people and was the largest stadium in Germany. At the Olympic Games, it offered seating accommodation for about 64,000 spectators. The others had to stand. The name Reich Sportsfield was removed in the early 1950s for political reasons, and from then on even the sports park was usually referred to as the Olympic Stadium. Considerable alterations were made in the stadium during the preparations for the 1974 Football World Cup. After that, very little was invested in the preservation of the building, and at the end of the 1990s there was extensive damage to the structure, and there were even discussions about demolishing the stadium. The last-minute rescue came when the football governing body FIFA decided to hold the 2006 World Cup in Germany. The Olympic Stadium was designated as the venue for the final, and €242 million were invested in refurbishment and modernisation between 2000 and 2004. You can see from the outside that the monument conservationists had a big say in this work. For a modern multi-purpose stadium, the building has a surprisingly historical appearance. But inside, a lot has changed. A great deal of modification and renovation work was necessary to secure its position among the top European stadiums with 5 stars. Today, Berlin's Olympic Stadium, set in the Olympic Park, Berlin, is one of the most famous stadiums in the world and offers a spectacular combination of an historical stadium and a high-tech arena.